Now you're ready.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. All right.
We have one paper check for Kristen Patch, $497.80, and that's the total.
Ready? Direct deposit. Henry Bickham, $636.14. We have Joseph Bird, $923.64. Katie Blake, Katie Hearn is $600.89. Kendra Brackett is $524.21. Karen Clements, $1,098.37. Jeffrey Collins, $671.42. Katie Coppola is $191.17. Evan Crafts is $327.17. Keith Culligan is $567.70. Alyssa Sanuski is $406.34. Kiki Downs-Wall, $685.78. Jason Gagnon is $250.57. Joyce Gallant is $835.77. Shayla Gherkin is $87.73. Andrew Gray is $508.14. Lily Grodzicki is $52.64. Mary Lyons Hall is $199.48. Kip Kaiser, $773.01. Joyce Kegel is $530.35. Matthew Kelly is $867.61. Kevin Newland is $1,052.29. Timothy Labonte is $206.67. Sawyer Marquis is $23.09. Sarah Parkhurst is $726.82. Wayne Robinson is $946.12. Richard Sawyer is $1,734.72. Thomas S. is $61.61. Christopher Spitaleri is $1,027.56. Katrina Tennant is $558 even. Josh Turner is $227.35. Janice Mears is $779.19. Jeremy Worcester is $380.28. Daphne Ross is
25.
25. Yeah.
See if you're paying attention.
711.27 is Daphne Ross, and Jared Wright Ward is $844.49.
For a grand total of $20,117.56.
For a grand total of $20,615.36. Oh, 8 hours overtime for the PD.
How many were you ready? That's the scarecrow. He's scared.
Ready when
You do the void check first? I'll do the void check.
The
We
void
can
check?
read the void check.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Void check. Robert Gagnon. Robert Gagnon, $75. McCoy's Alignment and Towing LLC. Also $125.
James Aubrey is $246. Bergeron Protective Clothing is $370.98. Block 5 Technology is $3,362.50. Car Parts of Epping is $14.16. Citizens Bank is $649.83. Comcast is $176.80. Dragon Mosquito Control is $1,250. E&J Auto Parts is $278.90. Eversource is $491.85. Hartman Oil is $941.24. Health Trust Inc. is $16.50. Hope Group is $59.95. George and Elaine Hussey is $129. Joyce Kegel is $61.96. Julie Labonte is $150. LCB Transport Inc. is $255. Leaf is $356. Mitchell Municipal Group is $1,567.85. New Hampshire Association of Fire Chiefs is $18. New Hampshire Employment Security is $1,026. New Hampshire Retirement System is $8,398.08. Claudian Finance USA Inc. is $1,003 even. Stratton Tires $130 even. Suburban Propane is $460.22. Universe Corporation is $57.19. Valak is $186.45. Verizon Wireless is $111.06. WB Mason is $161.75.
Grand total of $21,930.27.
We have one rec check made out to the town of Brentwood from the rec department. Madam?
Weekly treasurer's Treasurer's report. Previous balance, $3,274,662.65. Deposits, $85,893.78. The payroll was $20,615.36. Payroll tax, $5,281.13. Transferred to impact fees, $18,722. The AP is $12,930.27. And our account balance is $3,303,007.67. Interest earned year to date is $2,036.13.
Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Make a motion for minutes.
We have a motion for the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion for non-public.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Building permits. Jonathan Frizzell, 161 Collie Falls Road, remodel kitchen. Ray Parise, 13 Wilson Way, install 20K generator. Robin Johnson, 29 North Road, bulkhead removal and reinstall. Christopher Cooper, 272 South Road, kitchen remodel. Robert Miller, 47 Northbrook Drive, add 12 by 19 sewing room on third floor.
Yeah.
Joe Tebow, 19 Collie Falls Road, demo front of house, and add 34
That's all
foot
right.
dormer. And EIP Communications LLC, 87 Collie Falls Road, install 6
Thank you.
antennas.
I think it's gonna be fairly quick, right?
We're gonna go to the budgets. Well, Andy, why don't you make your motion on newsletter?
What budget is it?
It is general government, so you would be increasing the budget from 28,997.
I move we reopen the general government budget.
Second.
And the reason we're gonna reopen it is to fund the newsletter from January, February, and March. And then in March, we will act on the warrant article. All in favor?
First, we have to open the budget.
We just did.
We didn't know you opened the budget.
Do we have,
We gotta
A second?
Yep.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Now I vote to move
$850 per month for a total of $2,550.
$2,550 back into the line item of newsletter.
I'd like to amend that motion to include a stipulation that we pay them just like we pay everybody else on a monthly basis based on received invoices.
She does receive a check monthly.
I want an invoice just like every other relationship that we have
So
with a
you're
vendor.
amending the motion?
That I'm proposing an amendment to the motion.
We have an amendment to the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second Andy's motion.
No second. Okay.
I just want, it'll be on the record, right?
Yes. So then the new bottom line budget would be $31,547.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1. Hi, Kip.
Good evening.
You're next, sir.
I am.
You are.
I get the seat then, right?
You get the green chair.
You get the hot
Green,
seat.
green is good.
Don't spin.
Actually, it's aqua.
What did you say?
Aqua.
Aqua. Seafoam.
Seafoam.
It's a nice chair.
Yes. You may proceed.
At least it doesn't sink.
I think I just
We have one of them up here that sinks.
Okay, what is it that you would like to know? This is the budget part, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a modest increase of approximately $2,400.
I think it breaks out approximately about 2.6%.
I think there was a question of what the deferred line item was. What that in,
The $1,600 says deferred.
Right, so,
I know what it is, but I would,
oh, you can say it if you want. but-
those cover Kip's payroll, so if he is over his 34 hours budgeted per week, that covers those straight time hours.
and then,
We doubled the,
So the salary line was
Mileage,
part of the wage
mileage.
adjustment schedule that was already approved.
the travel and mileage is doubled because you're traveling more.
and we haven't spent anything.
No, actually,
We have a car.
Go ahead.
what I had before would probably cover the fuel. But now that I've got the vehicle, I know that there's a long list of items that need some repair. So it'll cover everything from inspection, oil changes, fixing the tires, so on.
Excuse me one second.
Definitely not going any cheaper.
Yeah, that's a battery. That's an oil change.
I'll move the 68,468.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I can go so soon.
Thank you.
Good.
Hi, Kip.
Cemetery?
Stay sit down.
Yeah, we don't have to get up.
I'll move the 1313.
Second.
Your budget has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What was the number?
1313.
We want it quiet. If you can't be quiet, please leave. Thank you.
So the cemetery trustees are presenting their budget this year with a 1.5% increase, which averages out to be about 40 cents an hour.
Joyce, we just passed your
We
budget.
just passed it. You did all that training for nothing.
Run, Forrest, run.
Can we just let everybody know that our budget only increased by $46 from last year?
Nice work.
In case anybody else.
We have
Love it.
constipation.
conservation is.
Bob?
Level funding for conservation. I'm gonna make a motion for the 13,652.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? All in favor?
Can we talk about it? Can we just like get an overview of what it's used for and, I haven't gone through this process a bunch of times, so.
Okay, so what is your question?
Worth 13,000,
Okay,
for what?
13,652.
Not for what, like, I know that this is super valuable, I'm on the trails, they're awesome. I'd like to have a discussion about
Okay.
it, so that the people know what we're voting on.
all right.
I'm here to do what y'all want, so it's all good for me.
Would you please give us a description of what you do?
Yes, so I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission, and the Conservation Commission has proposed a budget that is basically the same as last year. Last year, we cut the budget a little over 30%, and we've spent very little of it, I think to date, about $15. We're asking that the money that we did not spend be applied to the Conservation Commission has a fund. I don't know if some or all of you are familiar with this fund, but there was a time when a certain amount of money was set aside for the Concom from land transactions in Brentwood. And at some point that money got to be quite large, and there was a deal struck between Concom and the Select Board that they would cap it at $75,000. Right now, the fund is $67,697, and we have money left over from our last year's budget. If you'd be so kind as to use that money to replenish the $75,000 as agreed between us years ago, we would be grateful. In addition to that, we've asked for $300 to cover conferences and training. We used we did some training this year, but it was either free or folks paid the bill themselves. We carried $7,000 for audit. We've done most of the audits ourselves, and the remaining ones will be done by volunteers on the Concom. We just don't know from year to year if the volunteers will be able to or willing to do it themselves, so we need to carry money in case they do not, and in case we have to hire that service out. Same thing with easement monitoring.
Have you done any this year?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have, and we've got one or two left to do.
And these are documented and
Yes.
all that type of stuff.
Yeah, we're required to monitor the easements that we have an interest in, and or make sure that the folks who are ahead of us are doing the monitoring, and if not, to get involved and ask them to. So we have some obligations for the land that's conserved for under conservation easement that the town has an interest in. What's next? So, so we had contracts with CELT, and we had contracts largely with sulfur easement monitoring previously, and we'd like to continue to carry that money in case the volunteers aren't able or don't step up. We had $600 in association dues. I got that notice late in the year because of an email problem, I think, and so we haven't spent any of that. But by the time I got it, it didn't really make sense to spend it. So I think we're gonna use that money this year to renew our memberships in one or two associations, and that's what that's for. So, for instance, the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions.
600 is sufficient.
Yes, yeah. And postage, we didn't send out any mailings, and we carried $1 just to keep it a line item. Office supplies, that should be pretty self-explanatory. We haven't really used any this year. Town events, it's our intent to participate in or host town events in the future. With COVID, things got a little odd, and we weren't or didn't do it. We weren't able to or didn't do it this year. But that's what that money is for, and it's been done in the past, or so I'm told by folks. We carried $1,150 for to be put into the conservation fund, and it turns out that in order to replenish it completely, we need $7,318. So we're asking that, we carried $13,652 last year. We spent very little, and we're asking to replenish the conservation fund with the money left over, if that's reasonable.
And am I correct in, you might have said it and I might have just been, my eyes might have been on the spreadsheet, but conservation fund, is that like trail maintenance and like the bridges, or what is that used for?
My understanding of this is before my time, but my understanding is that when things come along, like the Concom committed to pay some bills for land acquisition transactions in the past. If something came along and we needed to put a down payment on a piece of property and that the select board might commit to, or otherwise we somehow get a commitment from another outside entity, such as the Natural Resource Conservation Service, then we would have money with which to do that. That's the purpose of that. It's land conservation and
Any associated cost with acquiring an easement.
Prior to going to warrant.
so, yeah, so closing costs, types of things. Survey is often, there's due diligence activities like survey and that kind of thing. So we'll often split those costs with folks, and this money is in that kitty to cover that.
Thank you.
Again, COVID was has made the year odd, so a lot of activities were down this year, but this budget is substantially less than the one we inherited, and we just want to keep it on hold until we have a normal year and can examine things.
You did a great job of taking the budget and bringing it to where it is compared to what years past, so I mean, this is awesome. You did a great job, Bob.
Thank you. We sure appreciate having you on the Concom.
I'm just appreciative of being on it with you.
Any other questions?
Motion and second.
Do you approve expending the $7,302.93 out of the 21 budget, and transferring it to the conservation fund this
Is
year?
that part of your motion?
I'll make a separate motion.
Okay. We're working on the first motion, that's to approve the budget. All in favor?
Aye.
The second motion is?
Transfer
$7,000.
$7,302.93 out of the 2021 conservation budget into the conservation fund.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bob.
I'd like to make a motion for the health officer budget for $1, and that's a cut of 50%.
I don't hear a second.
Second.
Really?
Yes, we're cutting it from $2 to $1.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is it all we have?
I'll go get it.
Documents,
I have this
Birds.
one.
Chief Bird outside?
He's here. This is a letter drafted by council for 3 Smith Road.
It was in the
code
mail?
enforcement issues.
I know everybody saw it. We have a motion to sign the letter.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who made the motion? Did you?
I did.
Do you want to do the tax rate before?
Yeah, we're gonna do the tax.
So I have preliminary tax rates. Take one and pass them down,
Sure.
please.
Thank you.
So current 2020 tax rate is $23.19. The DRA will recommend that you withhold at least 5% up to 11% of your unassigned fund balance towards next year.
What do we
Our
typically do?
unassigned fund balance is $1,936,455. And you generally like to retain close to $1 million in order to keep that sort of cash flow going through the month of December. So there's 8 options here for retaining between 5 and 6.5%. And overlay is the money that is used towards refunding for abatements. So I would suggest overlay being $195,000. You've already expended $145,000 this year between abatements and utility settlements. You'll have another $40,000 that will go back to Eversource for an abatement settlement, and then another 10 or so.
And for the audience, would you please read the actual breakdown?
So tax rates vary between $22.06 to $22.61. So all options would result in a tax decrease from the current rate.
Did the school money come back into the general fund yet?
I believe that was accounted for in here. Because they did that was the last bit while I was waiting for this afternoon, because they were waiting for the school apportionment to be approved by the director. So what I would recommend is retaining 5.5% of fund balance, which is just over $1 million, and reserving $195,000 for overlay, which would be a tax rate of $22.24.
Which is a decrease of almost $1.
Which is significant, and does that, I mean, we haven't talked about some of the larger budgets, how does that play into this, just?
So this is for the 2021 tax rate based off of what was voted and approved in March of '21 town meeting. So any tax implications based off of the budgets voted on now would happen next year.
You're always like a year behind paying what you're spending. You're kind of.
That's uncomfortable.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your comment.
I said, that's uncomfortable.
Well, it's history. It's happened for at least 10 years that I'm aware of.
The taxes are going down.
So the recommendation from the town administrator is 22.24?
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0?
It's 95 cents.
Additionally, you will need to input this into the tax system and create the warrant. So I would like there to be a motion to approve the warrant, and then I would ask that you guys come in sometime this week to sign the warrant so that Daphne can get the tax bills out
Make
this
a
week.
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
So, can I just
Oh,
kind
sure.
of point this out? Like, we all know what's coming when we're talking about the professionalization of the town, moving in the direction that a lot of us have been talking about for a while now. So the impact of lowering it this dramatically is going to be a reverse impact, a year from now, which is why I'm saying that's.
Well, of the recommendations that we received, it goes from 2211 to 2261. So to meet the needs of the town, based on what we know, 2224 will do the job.
And not necessarily, because this is based off of the operating budget that was, what, 4.6 million?
Voted on in March.
Voted on this past March. So if our operating budget is generally about 4.6 million going forward, depending on warrant articles, you should be able to be level funded.
If we're able to
For the
cut
town portion,
in other places.
right. So the wage adjustments that were proposed was to decrease in other budgets to offset and fund that wage adjustment. That wasn't an additional tax impact.
But we can't save money to not have a sticker
No,
shock next
yeah,
year.
no, you're,
And we have to, we still don't know what we might have for warrant articles too, which those aren't gonna be factored in until next year.
Any further questions? We're moving on. Mr. Byrd is present, chief. I'm sorry? You get the chair?
You get the turquoise chair?
Huh?
You get the turquoise chair?
Yeah, I can get turquoise chair, I'll bring it.
What do you think of the electric light?
Oh, I don't know if everybody
Nice. I don't think that would be.
Don't fall out of it. You and I,
It does stop.
you and I are the crew tonight, so don't
It
fall
looks
out of it.
super tall with that chair.
Maybe we should bring it over there.
Hey. You're not being very nice to me today.
Okay, for those of you don't know, this is Katerina, who is my administrative assistant. She has been an active part in putting this budget together and coming up with the figures that we've got, and she can probably answer questions quicker than I can with some of the numbers if it comes up that way. What you got handed in your packets tonight
Did you give it away?
is my proposed budget with two full-time people, adding two more full-time people. Covering day shifts with the per diems and cutting back my nights to stipends for one person on the night shift. The idea behind that is to give at least one person responding to calls that we're not getting at this point, and to try to straighten the thing out a little bit and see if we can increase the manpower and increase the call and get the call force to participate a little more. As you know, wages and everything else are not going down, everything's going up, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
I'd like to do a warrant article.
Well, at the same time, the only thing with doing that, and I will be honest with you, I'm struggling to cover things at the moment as it is. I am supposed to have two people on besides myself and Katerina during the day. And right now, it's been Katerina and I on several occasions. And on the weekends, it's been one person or nobody at all. As it sits tonight, I am supposed to have two people on for the call department, and there is nobody. So literally, if I get up from this meeting, it'll be her and I covering the ambulance call.
Yeah, but even if we went and approved, push this budget over to the budget committee, this can't go through until March 8th. So a warrant article would go through the same time.
But the warrant article pushes me out to almost August by the time you hire somebody. And right now,
You would anyway if you don't have it approved till March.
Chief, how many calls have we missed this year?
you're sitting at roughly 100. I'm up 100, so.
So
So at the same point that I was sitting at last year, I've covered what I would have covered last year, but I'm 100 in the hole.
So I want to make it exceptionally clear to the people of Brentwood that 100 times 911 has been called, someone has tried to reach and get help from the Brentwood Fire Department, and we haven't been able to cover it. And and it's not a result of you, it's a result of the fact that you don't have the resources you need to get the job done.
The caveat to that, and I will put a caveat to that, that it's not totally true. I may have had one person on, but you do not get a full response for something.
Do you have mutual aid though, that response?
The mutual aid is a great thing, but it's supposed to work both ways. It's not supposed to be abused. I mean, if you're asking for it, then you should be giving it back. There were a few calls that we haven't been able to cover. There was one this afternoon. I had one guy on, and there was a request for an engine over in Epping, and we were unable to cover it because I only had the one guy on that's medically qualified. He is fire qualified, but not qualified to run an engine.
And how long does it take if you do need to request mutual aid? How long does it take for someone?
It'll vary. It'll vary depending on what's going on in the neighboring town, depending on which town you're calling.
Best case.
Best case,
6 minutes.
if you want a mutual aid,
Well,
best case,
3-minute
request.
tone, 3-minute retone,
tone.
and then they get toned.
Yeah, so if they're coming from Epping and depending on where you are in town, it varies. Yeah, best case is 6. Best case is 6.
Good luck with that.
Six would they get the call, and then they have to.
Right,
and then
right.
they have
6 to get the call, and then they gotta do the response. So you're looking at another 12 minutes or so anyway, so you're looking at 18, 20 minutes.
So
On
best-
on a call that's staffed. If they don't have anybody on now, you do the same thing.
Best case scenario, I'm making some points because we have
Yeah.
a reporter here,
Yeah.
and she's taken down some vigorous notes, and I'm watching her. best case scenario in a mutual aid call,
12
it's
minutes.
18 to 20 minutes to
Well,
respond.
12 or 15.
Depending on where in town.
Depending on where it is. We got the town split up, just so everybody's aware, we got the town split up in 3 different divisions. To the center line, we use 125 as the cutoff. So Epping comes to this side, Kingston comes to this side. They literally split Middle Road by addresses.
And the
So-
reason you're bringing us this budget is because Selectman Frizell and I asked you, what would it take to dramatically improve our coverage? So
Right.
if someone calls 911, they get a response.
They get response. I will be honest with you, and I'll be honest with anybody in this room. There's no guarantees that this is the total answer either, because you're still relying on a call department to a certain extent. The call departments are dwindling. The trainings are getting tougher and tougher to take care of. The commitment is getting to be more and more, and as everybody knows, and since I sat in this seat and took the chief's position, you get every story that you can possibly get as to what's going on with family situations and so forth and so on, that everybody has to live with. I've been short a guy due to COVID, so literally I've been out, I haven't had anybody for full-time for 10 days. So, you know, and I've got the other guy in the hiring. The other process it took him 2 weeks to get a background check back, to get fingerprinted, and then it took him another 6, it's supposed to take about a 6 to 8 week. Don't ask me how it happened, but he's got his state license back. We're still waiting for the copy to come back to the town, which I hope he gets this week.
Can you just give me a copy of that one?
How
Yeah,
is,
can I
How
give-
many open positions do you
No.
have in Rockingham County, do you know, for firefighters?
I don't off the top of my head, I'll tell you, like I told you before, there were 180 openings, and about 80 made it through the CPAT.
This includes
so-
a wage adjustment too.
they're looking at adding a 55-plus community, another one, where a possibility of another 71 or 72 homes.
I'm not covering what it is now, so.
Exactly, so I mean, is that gonna affect you even tougher? I mean, if we were to put.
It depends on how those work, and I'm being perfectly honest with you. Does it keep kids out of your schools? Absolutely, it keeps kids out of your schools. Does it cut down on ambulance calls? I can not do anything in there for a year, and then I can be in there on a regular basis, so it only takes 1 or 2 to get sick.
And good luck with the plan, we can need a fire truck in some of those areas at the moment.
You know, and that's part of the problem there, that you don't necessarily have a problem with them until it becomes a problem.
Does a 55-plus community help you recruit and retain fire?
No, it just adds to the burden.
So
And
why doesn't it help you?
why would it, I don't understand why it would help.
Firefighters
We're
like
turning
to
a-
fight fires, they don't like to do
Right,
calls.
right.
I can
Welcome,
attest
yeah,
to
welcome to the, welcome to the fire service, right.
And
Welcome to the, if I wanted to do EMS on an EMS basis, on a regular basis, I'd be riding an ambulance for AMR or someplace like that. Most of these people wanna do fires or wanna continue to do fires, which we're not doing a lot of these days. Although we had a busy winter last winter and ran everywhere, mutual aid, and hence the reason the mutual aid is the important part of it. Because there's most calls when you do a fire, you're not gonna handle by yourself, because NFPA standard says you're supposed to have 15 guys there within 6 minutes before you even start any processes in a building. So to even you're not even gonna come close to that standard. A lot of the full-time departments don't meet that standard,
Call me.
because they're relying on mutual aid too, so.
I'm sorry?
couple quick points, just real quick.
What?
Oh, do you wanna go?
No, you can go first.
I'll be real quick. As one of 3 people in here who have actually been a firefighter for this town, I was, 2 years on as a firefighter almost. Going to calls at 2 in the morning, going to the fire department, and not having anybody show up with you because you cannot go to a call. Then at that point, you've got a retone, and we'd be sitting in the fire department if I was alone, 4 to 5 minutes before we'd have to retone. So add those minutes on there as well. We didn't have the staff to begin with, and that was a year ago. Now on top of that, they're gonna add possibly 72 new homes with 55-plus community, and I'm sorry, but there are issues at the 55-plus communities.
Absolutely.
100%. I mean, we saw it when I was on there. And then add on the fact that as a firefighter, I was making maybe $12 an hour to try to save people's lives in town. whether it's at the Rockingham Nursing Home or going to fires, remember the Newton fire, we had to help out with mutual aid. To make $12 an hour trying to save people's lives, when I could be working at Market Basket for $17 to $18 an hour, to our firefighters is a slap in the face. I'm gonna put it out there right now. Now, did I do it for the money? No. But it sure the heck would have been real nice if we were taking care of when we were out at calls at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to save people's lives. And if we don't have this funding to help to get on, just to pay our firefighters more, to recruit more firefighters, what's gonna happen when it takes 20 minutes and someone's mother, for example, is having a heart attack, and it takes us 20 minutes to get to that person? We're talking possible death. 90% chance of death. So I don't think it should be put towards a warrant article. I think we need to vote on this tonight.
Andy?
This budget's not on the agenda for tonight.
Well, all right, then the next night. But
So, what I'm really in here for is the pay matrix part of it, and try to come with something up with this. All I'm trying to do is slide this under your radar, is to really what you need to be looking at, and what I need to be looking for is an increase. If you guys wanna take out the 2 full-time guys and make it a warrant article, that's up to you, but I need to get this pay matrix through, and I need to be able to start stepping up to the plate and getting the other part of this budget through.
Okay.
So if you wanna take 2 full-time guys and separate them,
I don't think we're there yet, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's still.
Go ahead.
So, we have till 2028 to spend ARPA money?
26.
26. I propose that we take his budget and maybe use ARPA funds to maybe fund 60% the first year, 50% the next year, and gradually pass the increase on to the tax rate, and use the ARPA money to offset the impact to the tax rate, but not totally, so it's kind of a gentle hurt
Okay,
and not
I would
a big
support
hurt.
okay. Is it 236,000?
Right, so you have 236, plus you'll get another 236 next year, so you'll have 472. So how much of that money do you want to use towards fire, and how much of that money do you want to reserve towards other purposes?
Do we have any other purposes that are more important than this?
Well,
Well, if there are some, let's hear them.
I mean, you don't have to come up with them tonight, I mean, we can,
It's just something for us to
Talk.
discuss. I like that plan.
and Dave has a question.
My question is, David mentioned North Road, what Andy said, how many positions would you go for to fund to that government grant thing?
It was whatever the chiefs proposed, which is hiring 2 more full-timers.
Would you wanna go for 4, maybe get 2, because of how they government
No,
works?
this is not, to be honest with you, Dave, this is not putting a grant forward for this.
Okay.
This is a totally different situation.
Oh,
This is some federal money that has been set aside due to COVID
Okay.
to offset some things.
I
am not,
firefighter.
right, it's not a
Okay.
firefighter grant. I haven't sat down and proposed a firefighter grant. My opinion of things, to be perfectly honest with you, is the town needs to step up before somebody's gonna turn around and hand you money out of a federal program saying you're trying to make the step in the right direction.
And
What I
while I'm
mean-
up, I've been here 36 years, and it's time the town does have full-time coverage. I mean, I've seen this, I live in this scamming a lot, and Joe does miss a lot of calls because nobody's there. And you guys still get money back on ambulance calls, $1,200 to $1,500 a call, that's $150,000 that we didn't get. It could actually go back into something else.
The ambulance,
fund,
from what I understand, the ambulance calls go back to purchasing a new ambulance and new.
but not all of it, it's
trucks.
broken down. Some of it's coverage.
In this proposed budget, just so you're aware, David, and I probably should have sat and talked to you beforehand, what I have done is I've taken her training part of it out, and it was the training, and we would take over the stipend. She's paying for the stipends right at the moment. The idea behind that is I'm proposing a new ambulance at this point,
Right.
that is not gonna cost the town anything, it's already money sitting there, but knowing what the prices of these ambulances are sitting at, we're gonna be real tight in order to get it out of there and maintain the budget that we're already working with. I would take Alyssa's salary, who's my EMS coordinator, and put her totally under the EMS side of it, and then, like I said, pick up the stipends that she's covering now, and the training part of it, hence the big increase in my training budget. I've actually got more people showing up to the training, now I gotta kick them in the butt, get them to show up to the calls.
It's a very hard town to get volunteers.
Yeah, right, it is.
It's a white collar town, nobody wants to do it at night anymore.
Joe, what can we do right now, tonight, to help you with a quick fix?
What I'd like to do, and it's a quick Band-Aid, I hope, and do that, and I will hand you the other proposed budget, and what the other proposed budget is just strictly putting the pay matrix into place.
Go ahead.
Would be the pay matrix, putting, you're gonna pass them out.
I do have one more question.
Oh, sure,
on
sure,
that.
1 second. You may ask as many questions as you like. I have no place to go until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
So my last question on this, Chief, is, this is still not there is still a step above this, right? Like this is almost like the midway, in terms of the type of budget that you're giving us, because there's still the 24-hour coverage. The 24-hour shifts, what am I saying?
This budget
I can get it wrong.
proposes a 24-hour shift, but only one guy, so, yes, this is a midway.
This is a midway, yes, it is a midway to answer the question. Why don't you take it down around the corner and make a half a dozen for the other one if you could? Yes, this is a stepping stone to a full-time department. Like I said, I'm hoping that we can make this work.
A fiscally responsible.
A fiscally responsible way that I think it is at the moment. I'm trying to, those that dissolve call departments run into a lot of headaches. Kingston's done it next door pretty much, and I wouldn't have approached it the way he did. He turned around and he offered it up as 24-hour shift to the per diems, and pretty much cut his call department out of it. And I think that's part of his suffering over there. I want to keep the people that are interested and want to be involved in this. It's a cheaper way to do it. And in this budget, I have proposed a couple of coverages by per diems if I can't do it. I didn't build anything in for a full-time person to cover it, only because I'm trying to be fiscally responsible for it. It would take the stipends that they're being paid now, for those of you that are listening. It's $30 during the week to cover a night. It's a 12-hour shift. It's 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, which I play fudge factors with on the other end because of the fact that people have got to get to work. It goes to $40 on the weekends, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. If you do more than 4, if you do 5 or 6, you add an extra $10 to that stipend for each one that you've done. And if you go above that, it's another 10 on top of that. My proposal in this budget is just to go $100 flat across for the coverage. That gives them $100 to sit at home at night. There is a pay scale that went with this that it would take me a while to explain to everybody. These gentlemen are familiar with it. Anybody would like to stop by my station, I'm there generally 7 to 3:30 Monday through Friday. I'd be glad to sit down and explain it to you. But this is what I'm trying to get through now. I'm trying to get a competitive wage going, and if you start listening to what's going on, and I'm not advocating union contracts, and I realize it's a small town and so forth and so on, but if you're not somewhere in the ballpark, and I mean somewhere in the ballpark, you don't wanna be in left field, you need to be able to start attracting people. This would automatically come, and I'm being honest with these guys, that I would like to do a 3% increase next year, and a 3% increase the year after that, just because every time we do this, we put out fires when we do pay scale adjustments. We put out the fire for 5 minutes, and then 4 years down the road, somebody's back in here proposing a large increase to the budget because they're trying to catch up again.
Before we ask any questions on this, Mr. Faria had a question a little while ago.
Okay, Bill?
Sorry.
I think we talked a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, about what I thought would be 4 full-time firefighters.
That would be 4.
At $24 an hour and 24-hour shifts. You remember having that conversation?
Yeah, if you take a look at the pay scale, and I really didn't want to get,
Well, I'm not trying to get in the weeds with you, I just.
No, and I'm trying not to, because there is differences in that pay scale. A basic EMT with firefighter 1 would start at,
They have it right there.
$16 in Stratum.
I think, Chief, my question was.
He's on this
no,
one.
don't use that one.
Thank you, Gary.
My question was, at $24 an hour with 24-hour shifts, and I think that's an important caveat, because.
No,
I think
because,
that's where I
no,
see-
that would be, and I'm being, no, I want to be perfectly honest, that would be what I'm paying my per diems, I'm paying my call people, I'm getting everybody on the same pay scale. I've never understood the guy needs the same training if he's doing it for call or if he's doing it as a profession. So hence the reason the pay scale, yes, if you want to call it that, and you had a, somebody got one in front of me, because my secretary. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Looking for this one.
Joe.
Yellow one? Did she give you the yellow one?
We just found
Before
some
we
more
go
money in the
any
budget.
further, what can we do right now? Can we institute,
The pay scale that I'm looking for is if you take the
are
one
we
that's in
talking about
front.
right now?
We're
That's the
talking
question.
about right now.
Okay.
What I'm looking for right now,
Now we don't know things.
okay,
We were hearing.
so to answer your question, Bill.
Yeah.
Take where I'm going with this, if you got firefighter 2, EMT, and you're a per diem or a call person, you would go to 21. If you're a firefighter 2, advanced EMT is 23, firefighter 2, paramedic is 25.
What I was trying to get to is, what are the departments around us?
The pay scale roughly, and I'll borrow this, Bobby.
9-town average, is that what you're looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah, town averages, when I did this up, they wanted me to use Stratham, Greenland, Kingston, Raymond, Sandown, Danville. Well, Stratham doesn't even fit on the scale.
No,
The 5-town average for a firefighter 2 EMT is 1890. The firefighter 2 advanced EMT was 2180. And the firefighter paramedic was 26. So I'm actually $1 less than the paramedic. I'm,
and does that include the shifts I'm talking about?
yes.
24-hour shifts?
There are some other things that are built into it. There's a pay matrix that goes beyond it. If you've got certain certifications above and beyond those, then it would increase. But I would.
That makes us competitive with the
Right, to
surrounding
give us a basic pay scale. And I'm not gonna sit here and
That's
then,
the problem that we have, we get a guy, we get him qualified, and then they go,
right.
you know, to Epping, or they
So-
go to East Kingston, or they go, you know what I'm
Joe-
saying? And we don't want that to happen.
How many have we lost in the past year or so? How many firefighters due to going to other companies?
Half a dozen.
About 6.
Yeah.
Did we pay for the training at those?
No, they came in here, knock on wood, I've been fortunate. I'm not paying for training for these people. It's not like a PD situation.
like the certs?
Right.
Yeah.
No, you gotta walk in with at least that basic part of it, or I don't get anywhere. Let me just finish his question.
Yeah.
I added 3 more or 4 more towns to that when I did it. And I added Hampstead, Rye, Northampton, and Wyndham, because the gentleman that just left went for a full-time position in Wyndham. The average on that, when you put those other towns in, firefighter 2 EMT went to $20.78. Firefighter 2 advanced EMT was $22.86, and a paramedic averaged out at $25.64. So
We're in the ballpark.
we're in the ballpark.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to beat anybody up, and
We're gonna take one more question. Liz, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I was a little confused when you said that the per diems, I guess you were talking about night, the 6 to 6, they made 30 or 40 or 50, and you're proposing 100.
Right.
There's a lot of room between 50 and 100. Why wouldn't you do
well, if you go over,
75 or 80?
if you go over to Danville, who's a smaller town than I am and covers fewer calls than I do, He went to 100. And he's not having any trouble filling the
But
nights.
have we seen what other towns besides that one are doing? Because there's, like I said, there's a lot of room, if somebody was already here.
There was also a thing where the number of nights that they worked in a row, they got an extra 10.
Yes, that's what, the highest was 50 or 60, right?
Okay, direct the questions to the chief, please.
I'm sorry, the highest you said was, it started at 30, then it was
They
40,
got-
then it was
Yeah, we
50.
were sitting, if you're doing more than the 4 that I mandate,
Yeah,
you can end up at probably 60.
right, so.
And
I was
I'm
just
not
wondering what-
filling them now. So the reason I wanted to go the flat 100 across the board is, first of all, I don't wanna play that game that this one did 6 and that one did this. It becomes a bookkeeping nightmare on top of everything else, and we're trying to straighten that out and make it a little easier for my EMS coordinator, who sits down once a month and does everybody's payroll, because the call department gets paid once a month.
Okay.
The only
I was
ones
just
that are
suggesting
getting paid full-time, on a regular basis, is the per diems during the day and the full-time
That's it.
staff.
I was just suggesting something like 80 instead of 100.
But that's the reason I went 100. Danville just went 100, and his pay scale is pretty close to what I came up with, and has had decent success at this point filling things. He was recruiting his help because he's a retired chief out of Salem, and in order to get the guys even out of Salem to think about it, he had to come up on a pay scale that was close.
And we have how many people that drive ambulances?
I don't know off the top of my head. Most of the people that are EMS qualified are cleared to clear it, and we got 18 that are EMS certified.
So we won't have more, if you get a new ambulance, you won't have more cars than we have people to drive them, right?
We would get rid of it.
Yeah, you have to get rid of
We get rid of an
I
ambulance.
just didn't want it to be like the police.
No,
department.
we swap ambulances.
We just keep 2.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Mr. Chairman.
and then
All right,
the other concern I would have is just, because we ran into issues with the highway trucks, are the ambulance trucks having the same type of issues with the new ones that are coming out with the chips? We're having issues with the new trucks that we got, we basically have $170,000 paperweights.
He's running internationals. I'm looking at Fords, and most of the Fords have been a dependable vehicle.
you had a question?
Can your budget sustain this?
Can my budget sustain it?
Yes. Currently?
If I do, and I discussed this with Karen, I can't cover January, February.
No.
No,
I can
we're
cover,
talking
I
about
can,
Now it's.
November, December.
now, November, I'd love to start at November 1st, and I can cover it November and December.
Do we have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, anybody that would like to come over, sit,
And,
You dropped your pen sheet.
I mean, is,
and I will run it by you.
Chief, this budget, the new 2022 budget,
Yes,
does that have a 3% increase from this on it?
no.
That's the
No,
starting-
that's
the
my
starting-
starting right there, and then I will come back in 2023 and 2024 with a 3% increase, was the idea behind it.
Okay.
So literally, I'm starting from scratch there, just so you're aware of what I'm doing.
The administrator has a question.
So now Joe has enough money to fund his wage matrix, that's also inclusive of Katerina moving to
Katerina at a
full-time.
full-time position, I'm just so you're aware of
That
that.
was inclusive of the motion.
No.
It was not. You want to restate your motion?
It's a $3,000 increase.
Well, we have to figure out health insurance for,
She is willing to waive that until the first of the year.
So it would be an increase in hours plus New Hampshire retirement.
Right, and I've got the New
And then-
Hampshire retirement built into it, Andy, it's not a big deal, that's, I
She
believe
could
it's,
come on
it's,
Mine is less than the,
medical
Right.
insurance on, with open enrollment in
did I,
December for
we gave him
January
that
1.
single black sheet, right?
motion.
Would we have an issue with the budget though, because we don't vote on until March or no?
Well,
He has the money in his
the
budget.
budget committee.
He doesn't,
And we're gonna
he only
fund
has
this.
it to the end of the year,
We're gonna fund it out of,
the other reserve. Okay, second.
So, I
We have-
don't know if we handed these out, Andy, but. I know we didn't.
Katerina
That gets me
will
through the
do
next
that, so
We're
we
gonna have to start charging you for paper.
So you'll have to come and see me so we can do the
It's
paperwork.
about the only thing I can afford.
well, I don't think we had a motion and a second, we haven't voted on it yet.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So your question right there is that's what it costs to do the pay matrix.
Yep.
That's the difference to get her.
For 2 years, I mean, for 2 months. Yes, I have that
A
one.
little over, and that's into the retirement system, Andy.
Okay. We have a motion. Would you clarify the motion, please, Andy?
I'm not sure what it was.
So it's 40,000.
A year.
No, that's for 2 months.
For the
2 months.
But the money's in the budget.
It's in the budget.
It's in the budget.
It's
not counted.
inclusive of going full-time for,
And it helps,
So-
to clarify, it helps us immediately begin
But
the
there's-
process.
That's correct.
Of doing what we're
There's money
trying to
there
do.
not necessarily that's gonna be spent. There's 6,000, almost 7,000 for overtime,
Yeah.
$2,000 for gear. Like, that's not just payroll increases,
Yeah.
that's different.
we have the money, so we have a motion and a second. And to restate your motion, you're gonna approve the
Bottom line.
the bottom line.
No, there was a motion for the pay matrix, which was passed.
Right.
The next motion is to move Katrina to full-time,
Is that your motion?
yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have, all in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'll keep you one more time.
With the stipulation that she's
Even after all
cross-trained.
this
Even after
fiasco
the
with the
confusion.
papers?
Yeah,
Can you
well,
put that in the minutes?
Yeah. Now you have to learn payroll.
Now I
The stipulation is you're gonna be
taking better
cross-trained.
copies, Karen.
Correct.
yeah, that was agreed
I
upon.
can't
I
leave the
didn't,
chief hanging on camera in the middle of the meeting.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Here, you can have all.
Yeah. I need that one. And then we'll make a copy of this.
You did get it.
Like I said, if there's anybody that wants to sit, come out, talk about it.
It's a huge, it's very tough to hit, but
I
again,
appreciate how fiscally responsive.
No.
exactly. And that's the concern.
Joe could pay for the other 32,000 so that we can allow it as much too.
Yes, sir.
Do we have anything
Nope.
else?
We're going to personnel, right?
Yeah.
Anything else from public?
Are there any comments from the public before we go into
That's
non-public?
personnel.
Yes. Oh, we,
That's not public.
we should probably do a quick update on the Economic Development Committee that met and Budget Committee that met in the past week.
Economic Development Committee had the full attendance of all of the members. The agenda, Karen, is it available, or the minutes will be, no, the minutes have been drafted, they haven't been approved yet. Those will be available on the website following the next meeting, which is next Wednesday at 6 o'clock here at Town Hall. The outcome of the meeting was that we got, thanks to Andrea Bickham with the planning board, we got a list of all of the properties on all of the commercial properties in town. We broke out all of the properties, regardless of zoning, well, all the properties on 125. And we split it up amongst all of the members of the Economic Development Committee in order to get contact information and just an initial kind of reach out to folks at the suggestion of the strategic advisor, Darren Wyndham, in order to start to build the relationships with the folks in the Economic Development Corridor. That's number one. Number two, suggestion was made to build out a survey to be presented to the residents of Brentwood to get their feedback in terms of what they would like to see, what their vision is regarding economic development. We surveyed the committee members in terms of what their visions are for economic development, and almost universally everyone said offsetting, helping to lower our property tax by attracting more businesses, and also looking at a centralized location for like a small business corridor that would be attractive to businesses outside of Brentwood. And then we talked about the possibility of getting a landing page for the committee in order to post these types of things, so it's not just on the town website, but on like an actual subpage of the website, as well as a separate domained, but official, landing page. So, for example, Brentwood Economic Development Committee .com or whatever, so that it would be easily searchable online, and we could have a centralized repository for communicating with the townspeople and sharing our findings and development with them. I think that I hit kind of all the salient points, but happy to take any questions.
Andy?
So, way back, bring it to Brentwood used to be a
Yeah.
catchphrase.
That actually came up.
I was wondering if we could get it, bring it to Brentwood.com.
That's an amazing idea. Are you looking it up?
I am, right?
Would it probably have to bring it to BrentwoodNH.com, because I know when you put stuff out there for Brentwood, it could be Tennessee, California.
New York.
You can do all the O.J. Simpson, yeah.
So, Andy, I love that idea. Actually, Bring It to Brentwood came up. Bob Rossman remembered that we used to have signage along 125 about Bring It to
That's right where
Brentwood.
the fire department is.
Yeah.
It is.
And we've,
It wasn't up too long.
Bring it to Brentwood.com does not exist.
oh, great. Well, if it still exists after we set it on, then I'll look to get it.
Yeah,
But
it's true, because now you're on the public.
now, yeah. So,
You might have to buy the domain.
so thanks, Andy.
Yeah, you're spinning out now.
I don't get that many YouTube followers.
How many people are watching live right now?
2, we're up to 5 and we're talking about the fire department.
Okay. And
So
just
anyway.
one second. Anything else from the board?
Do you want a budget committee update?
Yes.
So all prior approved budgets were voted on the budget committee. The only one that was tabled or sent back for further review was a question about legal and what we've spent in the last 5 years for legal services. Besides that, everything else passed. There was a discussion about the employee raises, and that was stomached with the anticipation that we're trying to cut back on other things, and that the raises would be the majority of the budget increases for the year.
All right.
So,
Thank you. Now we'll take questions from the audience. Yes,
Can you
Bill?
bring up the
Maybe
planning board?
just because of the development, we might
Yeah,
want to
so
talk
the
about.
development that,
1 minute.
sorry, Bill.
That's
The proposal for that development, the 55 and older senior housing on Mill Road, that was the preliminary one, and he'd only done 25-foot setbacks, which he has to go, I think, to the ZBA for, because right now it's 50 foot.
That's
He has to-
correct.
So we addressed that, but there was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 people that spoke about it. One of the things that was brought up is,
pro or against?
it was
Or
kind of like
mix.
mixed. One of the things that, people want to know what to do to stop it, and one of the things that was brought up is, Fells owns a business guy, if somebody wants to buy the land, they can from him. Whether they do conservation, warrant article or anything like that, that was something that people would have to look at. Because other than that, as Bruce put it, he's kind of grandfather. So he's applied for it, it's in our
Right, you
zoning.
can't change it.
Can't change it.
To prevent it.
So you can't stop it from coming in. So that was one of the things that was discussed.
The
But
abutters,
you can make it meet zoning requirements.
that's
Right,
correct.
right. So right now it's 50-foot setback, I believe, and he had done 71 homes on a 25-foot setback. So,
He's done 25 foot over at 3 pounds.
yeah,
That's
they
correct.
gave him a variance on
One of
that.
the issues was
It'd be hard to contact you.
I saw the,
Okay.
Certainly get sued.
But then you see there are 6 homes in one area.
I think I have the.
It does not give the space for a fire truck to actually turn around in that area.
Yeah,
So
there's a
you get a chance in these plans.
shared driveway. The other thing I thought was interesting is Andrea did a good job of doing this. Trying to figure out what the percentages we have right now. Currently, we have 9.86% or 10% of our population is senior housing. And I guess at some point they had a discussion, they were comfortable with going up to 20%. By putting those 71 homes in there, it would bring us to 13.62 or 14%.
Who limits that?
That was through planning.
I don't think there was a limit,
I think it was just what's the appetite, the pulse of the board, whenever that was chosen.
That's just a number, if this were to be successful.
If this was to be successful, it would bring us from 10% to 14% in housing. Right now, we have 1,887 units or residential dwellings in our town. We have a total of 1982 with all inventory. It includes commercial, but 1887 is what we have. So by adding 71, that would bring it up to 14%. Of course, there's other developments going on too, so it just depends on what those numbers come in. I thought that was interesting that she proposed that, she did all that in there, so. And they felt, I think she did kind of a rough thing. It looks like it would be maybe if you did the setbacks he's supposed to do, 47 units. So it'll depend on, see what he gets approval between the wetlands and all the other engineering studies and everything else. I think optimally, he would love 71, but who knows, he can get that with everything that's in this.
Still needs to have the aquifer hydro, study done as well.
Yeah, he's got to
We'll
do
see
that.
how that goes, because that water's pretty,
Yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
All right, are we done? We're ready for the public. Letty,
No, I had a question about, I thought I was.
well, I actually said Letty first,
Oh, you did?
but you're so outstanding, I'm gonna let her go first.
Do Letty, go ahead, do Letty, I'm patient.
Is that what you call it?
Where
Yes.
is it?
So, as Bob mentioned, there were a lot of people that were at that meeting, the planning board meeting, that were wondering what the people of the town could do. There was talk of a citizen's petition, but I don't know if we can expend money in a citizen's petition or not. Is that something that has to be done through a warrant article? So the land hasn't actually been sold to the guy yet.
Right.
It's just been pending. So is there a possibility that the town could buy it instead and put it into conservation?
That's a big over a
We
year's
can-
long process to.
Yeah, you could do a citizen warrant article.
yeah.
Yeah, but,
With money? I didn't
Well,
know.
Yeah.
there's
no,
some,
we'd have to go out for a bond.
well, we have some ability to go for some grants
A million one is
within the
what
conservation.
currently goes
So
Million.
Bob Stevens, who was in here speaking,
Mhm.
speak to him, because we could have the ability to try to get some grants in order to purchase that land as well. Working with CELT and also working through the state.
So citizens that are interested in conserving this land should get ready to do a warrant article.
And talk to the conservation.
Yep, and talk to Bob. I'll give you his email after.
Yes,
Because
citizen thing.
they actually have, that was the question, I don't know if you were in here yet, the question I asked him about the conservation fund, like, that's what that money is.
$75,000.
But it's, he said like a down payment or whatever.
But
Okay.
it looks like they're, Ken said, what, $1.1 million?
How many acres?
66.
I heard the 1.1 million is a pending sale and he would offer it at 1.6.
Who?
The timing of it though, a citizen's petition would have to be in by, I think it's February 1st, and then it would be on the March town meeting. So the likelihood that that land would sell prior to March of '22,
He's gonna buy it and sell it back to us at 1.6.
more likely.
Well, I
than
wasn't,
focusing
I
on-
don't know the person who owns it now. I don't know if they would have any interest in,
First, they're making it.
well, no, they're selling it to the developer.
Okay.
I don't think-
Bill, you're on.
My question was about the economic committee. Have you looked anywhere else besides 125? Have you looked at Pine Road, for example, or some of the other, there are other commercially zoned areas. Have you anticipated looking at those, or have you looked at those already, or are you gonna just do 125? Because 125, the reason I bring that up, 125 is rather limited in terms of what would be available to somebody in terms of egress and onto 125. We're done in terms of driveways. And I'm sure you were.
Yeah, I mean, we've had one meeting. I invite you to join us, and we look forward to having your input.
I just gave it to you.
I would be more than
I
happy
just
to
asked
share.
you a question, did you anticipate?
I'm being flippant
I know.
with you, but no, I mean, the real answer is
Yeah, but most of
We-
the wetlands. Was it?
As a committee, in our first 1 hour of meeting together, we kind of just wanted to get a feel for the committee, and who had, what the vision was for each of the committee members, and then kind of the framework for how we will approach this. 125 comes up because I think it's a natural discussion point, and something that's very visual and something that we all experience every single day, right? But the list that I acquired from the planning board was all of the commercial properties in Brentwood, and so I don't think that the Economic Development Committee is going to be 110% solely focused on 125, but I do think that it's we cannot have an economic development plan without addressing 125 fully. So I think we're going to be 125 will be a big part of the committee and the process, but I don't want to say it'll be the only part. And if good points are made, from the public or whatever, the input will be more than welcome, and we will look at it.
Liz,
So I was also at that meeting that was talking about the over 55, and I disagree a little bit with Bob. I thought it was almost overwhelming against the developer. Most of the people who spoke were from Fellows Road, and I drove over there and I couldn't really see, I'm not sure where this is going. Can you tell me?
well, you really can't see the property.
You can't.
As you go up Mill Road, it's the first driveway on the right, on the left. It's a very high hill, and it goes basically almost to 125.
So you're passing Carol Belleville's house?
She's on the right. It's on the left.
Yeah.
Okay, if there are no more
No,
questions,
wait, I haven't quite finished. Also, can you have a citizen petition that says that you have to have 2 acres to, in
No.
order to develop? No.
the zoning book shows that you can have 3 different types of development.
Okay,
The standard is the 2 acres, then you have cluster, and then you have senior citizen. That's in the planning.
You can't change the ordinance after the application has been received.
okay, but you could change it for the future.
That's correct.
So in other words, if we had the 2 acres still, and he could only put not 47, but he could only put 30, or whatever, 35. or
Well, that's a
36,
different
right?
exemption, that's under the senior housing.
The senior housing has no,
It has different requirements than a single-family residential.
no, I
Different
get that, but
bathrooms, different bedrooms.
is that something that our planning board did?
Yes.
I was voted in,
That is
I
something
think
the townspeople voted on.
they voted on it.
It's 72
Right,
or
so that could
74.
never, that cannot be changed.
Well, you'd have
We
to
can change
create something going forward, but nothing can
No,
stop.
that's what I'm saying, I'm not talking
Okay,
about this particular one, but it's going forward,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ms. Leo,
I've got it, so if the property hasn't sold yet, and he's applied, but that doesn't take effect until it's sold, so wouldn't, if we were to make any changes in the zoning, would he have to reapply for something after?
No.
the only way you can make a change in the zoning is by putting it on the ballot for a vote in March. That's the only way to change that.
And he's basically done a conditional offer to them already. So they've signed and agreed on it, but I think,
And I think planning follows the property, not the
yeah,
owner.
Yeah.
And he would be grandfathered because the legal notice for the use has already been
submitted.
published. So once the legal notice is posted, you can't, any changes to the ordinances after that date wouldn't qualify to that particular project.
So with that being said, thank you all very much for coming. We are going to go into non-public.
For personnel.
Personnel,
91.
91A,
Not
And
B, C, D, E.
there's 311, A, B, C, D, E,
No, no,
and
no, no,
F.
no.
All right, do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a second. All in favor of going into non-public? Aye.
Aye.
I know.
Aye. Can do a roll call.
Good night.
Yeah.
Ken, I can do a roll call.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Jonathan? Aye.
Karen, is that
Those are long minutes.